Hi, and welcome to Yoga with Jenna. I am Jenna, and for this last week of Advent, we're going to be focusing on hope. Hope is such a vital part of this season, and looking back at this last year, it's what I've had to rest in, and I'm sure you have had to find hope outside of the uncertainties of the world. So if you would want to join me in a simple seated position, putting whatever leg in front is more comfortable, that's totally fine. Sitting up tall, finding that good posture. And now focusing on your breath. Taking a deep inhale in, maybe counting to 3. Holding it at the top, and then exhaling it out for 3. Continue with that breath for a few rounds here as I read the passage of the promise of the season. It's very perfect for this week and as we focus on hope. So it comes from Isaiah 9, 6 and 7, where it says, "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. He will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness. From that time on and forever, the zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this." So as we focus on this promise of his coming and of him saving the world and reigning on his throne here on the earth, we're going to just start doing some neck circles if you haven't already. Going all the way around and switching directions as you see needed. Maybe you start incorporating your arms and your shoulders in, making exaggerated circles to the back and to the front. Making sure you really stretch in between those shoulder blades. And with your arms at your sides, take a deep breath in, lifting your arms above your head. And exhaling them down, back to your sides. Inhaling them up once again. Exhaling them, twisting to the right, bringing your left hand to your right knee. Gaze goes back, warming up that waist. And inhaling your arms back up. And exhaling to the other side, twisting to the left now. Looking back, but not straining your neck, really focusing on twisting from the hips, from your waist. Inhaling your arms back up. We're going to do that one more time, trying to twist even further on that exhale. Exhaling to the right. Maybe you bring your right hand to the ground behind you to help yourself twist just a little bit deeper. Not holding your breath here, but keeping it steady. On your next inhale your arms up, back to center, and twisting to the left side now. Getting deeper with that exhale. Breathing out all of that stale air from your belly. Whatever's not serving you. Breathing in his promise of hope. And when you're ready, you can come back to center. Maybe taking just a second here to recenter the body. before we move on to our hands and knees, finding that tabletop position, back straight, hands planted, fingers pointed down and gripping the mat. Your toes can either be curled under or laid flat, whatever's more comfortable, more supportive. Working on a few cat-cows now, just continuing to warm up the spine and the waist. You can take it with your own breath or follow me with the inhale, rising up, finding that cow, sinking that belly button under, opening that chest, and exhaling, rounding down, curling that back, bringing the navel into the spine. And inhaling back up, finding that cow. And exhaling down into that cat pose. Taking it one more time at your own pace. Just go with your breath. Maybe you need to go side to side just a little bit, continuing to stretch out those side muscles. And then we're going to tuck our toes under if they're not already. Rising up into a plank pose, finding stability, the first plank of the day of the practice. And coming back into downward facing dog, just really quick, pedaling it out. Before walking up, finding that forward fold, bringing your feet to the top of your mat, letting your head hang heavy. Rising up one vertebrae at a time, finding that mountain pose. Every week of this Advent season, getting a little bit more dynamic in our movements, having some similarities, but also switching it up. And in that mountain pose, you're going to raise your arms with your inhale up, high, stretching long, standing tall. To exhale, fold over from your hips. Most of your weight is in the balls of your feet, folding over. Halfway lift, and forward fold again. Plant your hands, step back or hop if that's in your practice, down to plank, and take that chaturanga. Going into a push-up, either cobra pose on your belly or rising all the way up in the upward facing dog to downward facing dog. Good. Meeting here, pedaling it out before you walk or slightly hop your feet back up to that forward fold. We're going to be doing that again, our sun salutation of the day. But before we start here, maybe you grab your elbows, and as we flow with our breath, I just want you to just ask the Lord, or what name sticks out to you more. In verse 6, where he says, Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Which one of those resonates with you more today? Which one brings you more truth and security? And on your next inhale, you're going to rise up one vertebrae at a time, stretching long, finding that mountain pose. And exhaling, inhaling your arms up and folding over. Halfway lift on your next inhale. Exhale, step it back or hop, finding that chaturanga flow. Meeting back into upward facing dog. We're going to do that once again. So walking your feet up and inhaling up, finding that mountain pose. Bringing your arms long or to your heart center. Following your breath, inhaling up to fold over. Halfway lift and plant your hands. Step it back, finding your plank and taking your flow here. Either bringing your knees down if you need, or going into cobra or upward facing dog. To downward facing dog, breathing it out, pedaling it out, just warming up our body, getting ourselves moving as we rest in His promise of hope. His promise that brings us hope. And then on your next inhale, we're going to step our right foot up, finding a warrior one. So it's at a 45-degree angle. Your right foot is in front. Your left foot is at a 45-degree angle behind you. Rising up, arms come long out in front of you. Hips are pointed forward as you fold down. Making sure you're not locking out the knee, keeping your hips square. Really trying to bring that left hip up and your right hip down. Finding that stretch. Maybe even lift up your right toes to increase that stretch even more. And coming up now, stepping it back a little bit, finding that warrior two. So you're getting a bend in that front knee. Hips are now to the side. You can look ahead with your palms up or your palms facing down, whatever you prefer. Remembering to breathe as we sink into this stretch. Focusing on our strength, confidence, because we have that hope for the future. Windmilling your arm back, finding that reverse warrior. Two, bringing your hands in front, framing that foot, bringing your left hand down and twisting open, bringing your right hand high. Looking up, your gaze is up. Make sure your back heel is not sickling in, but it's straight. And bringing that hand back down, stepping back, plank pose to downward facing dog. We're going to do that again on the other side. So when you're ready, stepping your left foot up and bringing your right foot back a little, 45-degree angle. Hips are pointing straight. Try to make them level. Arms are up. Stretching that left leg long. As you inhale and then exhaling, folding over. Stretching out that left glute, hamstring. If you want to, if you did it on the other side, you can lift up your left toes, increasing that stretch a little bit more. And coming up to find that warrior two pose. Arms strong, left knee is bent, but over your foot, keeping it over your foot. Back foot is parallel with your mat. Pelvis is tucked under. going back, finding that reverse warrior. Do windmill your hands out in front, bringing your right hand down by your left foot and bringing your left arm long, keeping that back heel pointed up. Another twist here. And bringing your hand down, stepping it back into plank and meeting in downward facing dog. And when you're ready, we're going to walk our feet up, finding that chair pose, going a little bit more technical here. Increasing that strength, using those muscles we just stretched out to sit down even an inch further, making sure you can see your toes and wiggle them too. And rising up now, finding that mountain pose, bringing your hands to the center. We're going to try out Warrior 3 as we're continuing with a warrior series. So as you are in your mountain pose, I want you to shift your weight to your left foot, bringing your right knee high in the air, parallel, creating that 90-degree angle, holding it here, finding your balance before bringing it back, trying to keep it up as you move, bending at the waist, flat back now like that tabletop. I should have told you before we started, but a block can help with this. If you want to bring the block out in front, you can grab the block with your hands at whatever level you need. But then you want to bring your arms up, finding an airplane pose, airplane arms with this Warrior 3. Come up as high as you feel steady. It's okay if you need to keep your toes on the ground. It's totally fine. And slowly bring your knee back up to the front, not setting it down, continuing to challenge yourself with a confident hope as you set your foot down in front of you. I'm going to switch and go to the other side now. Maybe taking a minute to breathe your arms up into your heart center. If you're a little unsteady, bringing your left leg up, gripping your right toes into the mat, finding that focal point, and bringing your left leg back out, stretching out. If you need to keep your toes on the ground, go for that. But when you're ready, find that airplane arm. Looking ahead, looking gaze just above your mat a little ways so you're not kinking your neck. And slowly, without setting your foot down, bringing it through, back up to that standing with one leg, arms out, posture good, and set it down. Wiggle out your legs just a little bit. Great job. And however you would like, you can find your way to your back on the mat. Maybe taking a couple rolls. I always like to roll. It feels really good on my spine. And it gets me settled. Maybe you need to give yourself a hug or take a bridge pose. Whatever you need to come onto your back to get settled. And then on your next inhale, we're going to just take a few seconds here to bring our legs up the wall. You don't need a wall to do this, but you can pretend like you have a wall behind your legs and you're bringing them up. It just returns the circulation to your body, stimulating, stretching, remembering to breathe, keeping those hips on the mat, rooted on the mat. And now bringing them into your chest, maybe rolling side to side, just a little bit more. To extend your legs out long, finding that resting pose, just sinking into the mat. Feet become heavy, legs long, arms out to your side, with your palms up to just receive this hope. As you release all the muscles in your face, and if you are in a safe place, you can close your eyes just to meditate on this promise of the season. I read from Isaiah where this is the prophecy of his coming, of Jesus' coming. And in Luke 1, that's where he fulfills this promise. That's where Jesus' story starts, fulfilling this prophecy that I read from Isaiah. So just take a few moments just to thank the Lord for that hope that he provides. And more of an open heart this season for you to receive that hope, that confidence in this crazy, uncertain world, that we can hope in him. We can get ready with anticipation for the celebration we have before us in the birth of our Savior. You are more than welcome to stay in this resting position if the Lord's speaking to you. But if you're ready to come up, first find that fetal position on either side, whatever feels comfortable. Bringing your knees into your chest before pushing up with your arm in that simple seated position where we started. Maybe with your eyes closed still, start putting a smile on your face. So you re-engage those muscles into the smile that we get to bring because of this hope that we carry. Just receiving this promise, this celebration that we have. I thank you for joining me. And I hope you have a very Merry Christmas.